this session, I want to talk through preparing for a competency-based interview question. I know that this can be a stumbling block for many, but once you prepare and you practice, you will absolutely smash this during the interview stage. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Liz Dawson. I'm the Learning and Development Business Partner for the Adecco Group. And today I want to share with you some hints and tips about how you can be really comfortable and confident during the competency-based interview round of your future employer. So what is a competency-based interview? A competency-based interview question to look out for, it's something that a client uses to test your behaviour. The thought process being that whatever you've done in the past and whatever behaviours you've demonstrated will provide proof that you can do it moving forwards. You'll always know when you get to this stage of an interview, because it goes from your generic questions like, why do you want this job, or how much do you know about the company, onto the more fuller, more rounded questions. And they always start with examples like what you see on this screen. So it's always tell me a time when, or explain a time when. And if you want to prepare to really nail those competency-based interview questions, then it's worth thinking about the job that you're going for and the behaviours that the client would desire in you. So for example, if you're going for a customer services job, they would want to know things like how you've resolved a customer query or how you handle pressure. If you go for more of an accountancy or finance job, they probably want to know your attention to detail or your organisation skills. But just think about the interview you're going for and the behaviours that they would look to demonstrate. The thought process being is that if you prepare in advance 3 competency-based interview answers, it will lend itself to any single question. Because for example, working under pressure could also be handling a difficult customer. So as long as you have 3, those answers will fit into anything you can think of. So how do you answer them? So it's really common, this technique, and it's one that's pretty well known, but I want to go through the STAR framework with you. So you'll see it's split into 4 main sections: the situation, the task, the action, and the result. In terms of the situation, what an employer is looking for is you to really set the scene, but try not to make it really broad. It's got to be one specific example. Now, loads of people miss out the task, and this is the part where it's what your purpose was at the time. So what were you responsible for? What else were you doing at the time? And what would have happened if you didn't take accountability? In terms of the action, always explain what you did. So it's an I rather than a we, and go through whatever you did step by step. And lastly, it's the result. So it's always got to be a positive outcome. It's always nice to share some feedback as well. So if your manager said something or your customer said something that was positive, include that into your answer. And then finally, link it back to why that is a benefit to your future employer. So link it back to why you're suitable for the job. I want to share with you how this works. On the screen, you will see there that I've put questions you can ask yourself to answer and prepare in advance so that you really hit the brief when it comes to answering a competency-based interview question. Now, I'm going to go through a couple of examples. Example number 1, as I always like to do, is a textbook answer would get from someone who hasn't necessarily prepared or gone through the STAR framework. And then I'll deliver the same answer using the framework, and you can see how much better it sounds. So say you're in customer services, because I think most people have experienced some form of that, whether you've been on the receiving end or you have been in customer services. So say you was with an employer and they asked you, Liz, so Liz is my name, give an example where you've handled a difficult customer. Okay, so example number 1 could be, do you know, I work for a bookmakers, and during that time we get difficult customers all the time, especially when people place bets and don't win any money. And so I'm really good at calming them down and really listen to what they say. I take it all into account, I empathise, but then I manage it. So I always link back to company, our policies, the fact that I remind them not to be gambled too heavily. And then I share some hints and tips if they've lost a lot of money, how they could resolve that. My manager thinks I'm so good at this that actually, if there's a really difficult customer, I'm always tasked to resolve it. And I also do some training now for other people. So I'm really comfortable doing it. So if you answered like that during a competency-based interview question, it would still go down well. But at the Adecco Group, we want to make it so it's the best answer it could be. So again, I'm going to go through the same question and the same answer, but now hitting the questions that I've put here on the screen. So I encourage you, when I go through it, to look at it. Because there's a few things I missed in a first answer, which loads of people, when we meet them at Adecco Group, perhaps can miss. So if you think, for example, in the first answer, first of all, my situation was quite broad. And if you remember, I want it to be really specific. Secondly, and what so many people do, I missed out the task completely. I think if I was being really critical, I could have done more step-by-step actions, but that really links itself and lends itself to the task. But the result I do think was quite positive. It would just be linking it back to that future company at the end and why you benefit them. So let me go through example number 2, and you can hear, hopefully, the differences. So again, it could be Liz, tell me a time where you've handled a difficult customer. Well, in my most previous job, my most recent job, I work at a bookmakers, and there's one specific time where we had someone that was with us for a couple of hours that had started off placing bets on horses, but then went on the roulettes. You may have seen on the news that the roulettes can persuade people to perhaps spend more money than they first intended. We do have posters up, and I do tell people as and when they're doing it. If I think they're doing too much, I just go up and check they're okay, but ultimately it's their responsibility. But in this one instance, we had a customer that had spent too much, and he was really upset, so much so that he was kicking off and causing a scene in the store. At the time, I already had people in. It was near 3 o'clock, and there was a 3 o'clock horse race and football matches, and they wanted to place bets. So I had about 6 or 7 other people in the store. I didn't want them to be put off. But equally, it was my responsibility to sort this person out because he was in distress. It wasn't pleasant for anyone else. And ultimately, we want people to be okay. If I hadn't have acted, I think we could have lost the business from the other people, and it would have made everyone feel uncomfortable, and who knows how this person would have escalated his response and how angry he was. So what I did is that to begin with, I approached him and I asked him to take a seat, and I explained to him that I was taking his complaint seriously, but I wanted to give him that one-on-one time that he deserved. So if he was happy to wait 5 to 10 minutes, I'd just serve everyone else, and then I could really sit down and give him my full attention, and he was happy with that. In those 5-10 minutes, I then served everyone else. So I was really happy. They either went on the way or waited for the screens to come on with the horses and the football, but they were served, and then that appeased that situation where they wasn't watching him kick off. I then went back to him. I do have to let them vent. I just have to empathise. I need to really listen and understand where they're coming from, because some people are in a distressed state, and I'm actually trained to take this on, listen and deliver the answers that people need to hear. So whilst I did remind him that I approached him during the roulette conversation, at times you just have to remain calm, empathise, but then direct him to places that can help, but also link back to other support things or where else he could go to. As a result, he was okay by the end. He was still a little bit upset, but he had some action points to go to. He knew who to have conversations with, and actually he apologised for kicking off in the first instance, and thanked me for my time. It's also because as a result, my manager was in that day, and she said because I did such a good job, I actually got a well done in the company newsletter, but also now I'm responsible for training other people. And I know in this interview that I'm going for that you're looking for someone that can keep calm because it's a complaint handling job. And that's something I'm so used to. I'm really confident that my skills can lend it to this position moving forwards. So hopefully from those examples, you can see what a difference it makes preparing and going through the questions on the screen to really answer that STAR competency-based interview question with a fantastic answer. If you need support with this, your Adecco Group colleague can help, but I will reiterate that you need to go through each section on the screen, prepare 3 in advance, because if you prepare 3, it will lend itself to any question, and just link back how your answer will benefit the company in the end. For any further questions, please feel free to reach out to your Adecco Group colleague, and we do have a template with those questions on that we're happy to send out for you. They'll also advise you and help you prepare for the behaviours that your client might be looking for in a prospective interview. Thank you and good luck.